from the American establishment that usually leads the international community.
It usually leads the international community, absolutely.
To condemn and sanction those who unleash violence. He's busy with these sort of problems, tariffs, wars, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Who says he wants to compete with Kagame in killing people? He said Kagame has killed, that Moses has killed only about 30,000. But Kagame has killed more. I want to kill more than Kagame. So the first people to be demobilized is the media. Either confiscate their camera, fire tear gas at them, scatter them. For us who have been in this thing, then you know that danger is about to come. Yeah. Either you withdraw or find a sanctuary somewhere. So in Kawempe, you have the Brigadier Dambulia, and the country needs to understand that Brigadier Dambulia is the director of crime intelligence. He has legitimately, he has recruited all the faces in Kampala.
Do they think about their children? Do they love them? I don't understand the mind of people like Adolf Hitler, Yoweri Museveni. If you have children, little children, and you go on and cause mayhem, visit injustices onto innocent civilians, yet you might leave power or you might die and your children will be alive, don't you think that they might receive the worst revenge?
You're watching Mordecai Marissa Political Commentary. Please consider subscribing to help grow Uganda's Voices of Struggle ecosystem. Thank you.
Very glad to be here on Mordecai Marissa TV.
And indeed, coming to you live from these United States of America, my name is Mordecai Marissa. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you're watching me from. Welcome to Mordecai Marissa Live. I've heard people say, Mordecai, you should produce some shows in English, and others say, please stick to Uganda. So my audience is pretty much divided, with some people wanting English-produced shows and others preferring Uganda. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. It's not an easy job to do, having two shows. Others actually suggest that if I produce one show, it should be produced in both languages. Oh boy. Do you know the amount of time I should invest in doing that? Editing and doing stuff like that. I would think that is asking for too much. How I wish this was my sole job, my only job I was doing. I don't consider this to be a job. I consider it to be service to my country, Uganda. But I would try to find ways of how I can actually produce two shows. This one is going to be conducted in English, of course, because we're going to be listening into Honorable Ibrahim Semujju Nganda, Member of Parliament for Kira Municipality, who was interviewed about the violence and mayhem we saw. How Museveni deployed his men and a gang of thugs and goons that wreaked havoc, visited injustices and mayhem onto innocent civilians and the members of the press. Ibrahim Semujju Nganda has a solution, and I truly believe, to a certain extent, actually, this is why he did it. He believes that the election of Donald John Trump in these United States of America as president, who has little interest in the affairs of other countries, could be the reason as why Museveni is emboldened to cause a lot of violence and mayhem. Hey, let's listen to Honorable Ibrahim Semujju Nganda explaining. Welcome to Mordecai Marissa Live. All right, let's listen to Ibrahim Semujju Nganda. All right.
Deal with them. So the by-election became a victim.
I need to reduce the music.
And also need to understand that the international media, the attention of the international community is at the moment shared and taken by many things. The war in Ukraine, the war in Palestine, the new American president, the madman.
He calls him the madman, the new American president, the madman. It's pretty different. He's a different human being.
Who, by the way, is not bothered by what takes place beyond the American borders.
Is not bothered by what takes place beyond the American borders. Now you have to understand that America's foreign policy has always wanted to know what's going on or what goes on across the earth. And they've pretty much interested themselves in the politics of different countries. They've always come out to say, hey, you want our help, but we want to make sure that rights of your citizens are not violated. Well, it hasn't, worked entirely pretty well or perfect, but it was some sort of a restraint for dictators like Museveni to cause unbelievable damage. It was something that was trying to restrain them. Of course, a murderer is going to be a murderer, but a murderer who depends on the aid of some countries, there might be some sort of restraint.
So Museveni knows that this is the best period to unleash violence.
So, yeah, Museveni believes that this is the right moment. Now that you have president, you may argue, some people have argued in favor of this notion that America is world's police, is the international police. So if you have a president of the USA who doesn't care about what goes on in Uganda, that gives some sort of a permission structure for Museveni to unleash terror onto his own people, knowing that he's not going to be questioned by the Trump administration. So that's why so many dictators around the world were very, very, very happy seeing Trump win. Not necessarily, it's not because they wanted to see America flourish into the right direction, but because they knew Trump was, by and large, some of his campaign slogans, America first. And you remember during his campaign trails, he promised that he would end all the sort of conflicts where America is involved in. He wanted America to isolate itself in a way that that is opposed to his democratic political opponents. So that's one thing.
You have no international community to watch over you. I don't think there is anyone who is...
So the international community, and you have to remember that America leading a very distinguished factor in the international community. When America is not watching, you're pretty much not watched by anybody.
To announce sanctions because of violence. Trump is not interested. Yeah. They told Syria for us will withdraw. You are in the
mess. Yeah, Trump is not interested, like he said, because and then you have to understand that some American citizens who actually buy into this idea of Trump of isolating himself from other countries because they believe that America has spent lots of money onto those countries while the American citizens are suffering. So there were some of them actually, they are buying this idea of Trump pulling out of all these conflicts and not being interested in the affairs or political climates in other countries. Like he said, that he told Syria, hey, we're pulling out, and other countries. But is this possible? Well, I do not think, because you and I still know, we know that America still has military bases all over the world. So to what extent? But he continues to explain that, it doesn't really matter, because in the end, Donald John Trump is going to be president for only 4 years.
Sort out your own mess. So the American establishment that usually leads the international community.
It usually leads the international community, absolutely.
To condemn and sanction those who unleash violence. He's dealing with these sort of problems, tariffs, wars, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So we now can do anything. But also the rise of Moscow and Uganda, who has repeatedly said that he admires President Paul Kagame.
Yeah. That's another factor. The rise of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who has he reveres. There's some sort of reverence Muhoozi has onto Kagame, the president of Rwanda, a brutal dictator who has created some sort of a veneer, a facade of development that has brought prosperity and economic development and technology into Rwanda at the hands of murdering people, voices of opposition. So, but he says, oh, I admire that gentleman because he's able to control his people. I can tell you, if you've paid a visit to Rwanda, you'll never meet a group of politicians seated in the capital city, Kigali, discussing politics and especially discussing how to dislodge through democratic means, how to get rid of Kagame through democratic means. No, you cannot have that conversation in Rwanda. And Muhoozi says, oh, that's my role model.
Director of military intelligence in Uganda, when Museveni had just captured Power General Muntu was the director of military intelligence. he had 3 deputies. The first deputy was Kagame. But Kagame was brutal, even when he was in Uganda.
Yep.
So who says he wants to compete with Kagame in killing people? He said Kagame has killed, but Moses has killed only about 30,000. But Kagame has killed more. I want to kill more than Kagame. So why have you duplicate?
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's able to even go on and post some most nasty things on his social media platforms, because he's been emboldened by people like Donald John Trump, who do not care what they post, because he's realized that, no one is going to call me out, since the man in the White House is not interested in the Ugandan affairs. This, in one or another, you can argue that actually benefits Uganda. Us who want to see change in Uganda should do it our own selves. We shouldn't rely on the American government. We should say, okay, now that we do not have the support of the American government, how can we liberate ourselves from the chains and shackles of Mr. Museveni?
Exactly. You see, Museveni is a very deceptive leader.
Absolutely.
Even when he's beating you, he will be consoling you at the same time.
Yeah.
And announcing investigations into your beating.
Yeah.
Then behind the scene, he will be ordering that you go and beat more. And then on TV, he will say, because you saw him one time, he said, arresting people. Security police even supposed to back at people, shout at them. This is the procedure of arresting. You produce yourself, state the reason. That's what is in the constitution. But the same Museveni continues. But Muhoozi is not a Museveni. He thinks the Kagame way is the best way of handling an opponent or a perceived opponent. So the reason journalists were targeted is simply because they don't want those images to be displayed to local television but also international television.
Now, you understand the importance. Bobby Wine has always said that every time you're holding this thing in your hand, you're holding a weapon. They do not want you to capture these pictures because they'll be deployed. They'll be sent. They'll be shown all over the world.
Social media, those images are now all over the world. You may have Trump not interested in Uganda, but Trump is the president for 4 years.
Absolutely. You may have Trump for only 4 years, but he's only president for only 4 years. You should remember. And who knows who might win presidency in 2028? If they are Democrats, they will try to renew the American old way of getting involved in the affairs of other countries. Now, there's an argument there to be made, whether you're in favor for it or not. But if these countries, if these folks like Museveni have been able to consolidate power as a result of money they get from countries like America, shouldn't we ask America to pull out its funds and then see how people like Museveni can actually sustain their regime? They cannot. So people are divided here. Should America be involved in the politics of our country or pull out? Make that case down in the comment section.
You have another person who's going to sanction you as a result of what you are doing. But also, even within Uganda itself, it's no longer possible to carry out the atrocities that were carried out under Obote and Amin, and you go scot-free. Because each individual now can be held accountable. So the environment is not conducive to do the things that are happening in Rwanda.
Absolutely.
But you can beat people, you can kill them, and you are not accountable. So there is still some mechanism of holding people accountable. So even Muhoozi, brutal as he is, he doesn't want, that's why he has never commanded any operation where they are beating people. He speaks from afar himself. Even beating people is good, as Muhoozi keeps advertising it. Let him be the commander on the phone. That is the one in the Kawempe, is the one ordering beat this one, beat this one. But he knows that he may be in power today, tomorrow you are not. That's why he wants everybody to be one to do this work.
But isn't it very funny that Muhoozi knows that having his own face commanding his men to beat up people, break their backs, and do all these stupid things they do is very dangerous? Then how are these men willing to have their faces captured, to have their names written down in the books of history, that they are the ones who commanded these raids, these illegal orders? If himself won't actually do it, then how other people manipulated to the extent that they won't even they will ignore the repercussions of their actions. I don't understand that. Is it certain level of delusion? It is desire for money? What is it?
So the journalist, personally, I have been in politics now for nearly 15 years. Whether it's the demonstration, each time they want to do harm, each time they want to beat you, each time they want to beat you, the first people to be demobilized is the media. Either confiscate their camera, fire tear gas at them, scatter them. For us who have been in this thing, then you know that danger is about to come. Either you withdraw or find a sanctuary somewhere. So in Kawempe, you had the Brigadier Damulia, and the country needs to understand that Brigadier Damulia is the director of crime intelligence. He has legitimately, he has recruited all the faces in Kampala.
Now imagine that. You have thugs, thieves, people who kill others to steal from them, who have no training whatsoever, have been recruited by Damulida to do his dirty bidding, dirty jobs. I mean, what kind of a country are they trying to build? What's wrong with Damulida? We've heard that so many people have been sodomized at his watch. So many people have been killed. Many have been tortured at the orders of Damulida. He's stealing people's lands. He's done all these wrong things. But where is he going to live? Does he think about the future of his own children? Because in the end, when he finally leaves or dies, his children will live in this country. I remember at one time I saw this lady on social media. What was her name? The daughter of Eli Tumwine. She was crying on social media because people were calling her out, insulting her, and throwing profanities at her. But while I condemn that because she's just a daughter of Eli Tumwine who looked in the camera and says, we have a right to kill you. But do these folks like Damulida, the Eli Tumwine, the Museveni, the Muhozi, think about a world where they are not in power? And if they do, what do they think? Oh, if they're too selfish to not have the ability to think about that, do they think about their children? Do they love them? I don't understand the mind of people like Adolf Hitler, Yoweri Museveni. If you have children, little children, and you go on and cause mayhem, visit injustices onto innocent civilians, yet you might leave power or you might die and your children will be alive, don't you think that they might receive the worst revenge? No, I don't condone that. I'm not campaigning for that. I don't think that revenge is the way to go. But I'm living in a real world. Folks who have been mistreated, who have been tortured at the watch of or at the orders, on the orders of people like Museveni, will want to revenge. So what's wrong with you, Damulida?
The initial idea was that these chiefs will help you to identify other people who are committing crimes. Yes. It was therefore legitimate for him to penetrate and recruit people who are committing crimes to help him fight crime. Unfortunately, when NRM political bodies under stress, they borrow the chiefs and then unleash them. The reason they did, that's why you did not see mainly the soldiers. There are few images of EPDF soldiers doing the beating. Their duty was to provide protection as the chiefs and the judge. And if now government operates, even some people in the judge are not policemen.
Wow.
They have trained the thugs in Kampala, but they dress them as policemen. So that's
now, once people get to know this, you're going to see people taking the law in their own hands because they will know that the people who are beating them up are non-trained. These are non-professionals. They know that, you've unleashed, you've sent thugs to beat them up, goons, non-criminals to beat them up. They are going to revenge. I don't understand which kind of a country people like Museveni want to build. Do they even have any interest in building a country? Power corrupts, but absolute power, yes, indeed, it corrupts absolutely.
That's why they hide themselves, because they know tomorrow they will not even have a gun, and they know they are going to wreak havoc. So the journalists became a target because they simply wanted to remove all the possibility of being covered in the by-election, and then security would provide cover to the goons, to the chiefs to begin unleashing terror.
Wow. That is the reason as why they became a target. Unbelievable. Doesn't even begin to describe the situation in Uganda. But well, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. I always read the words. I think I'll read you these words right here. Let me try to put them up. I'll try to explain. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown stands God. Within the shadow keeping watch above his own. Now, truth forever is always on the scaffold. Wrong usually wants to sit on the throne, and that is Museveni and his evil actions. But that scaffold sways the future. It is the truth that sways the future, because behind the dim unknown stands God, within the shadow keeping watch above his own. Continue causing mayhem. Go on. Well, my name is Mordecai Murisa, and I hope you're having a great time. That's the short show. I usually have 30 minutes at least. Until we catch up again, please make sure that you do subscribe to the feed. Until we catch up again, to God be the glory. Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy what you just watched? I'm going to guess that you did. How about you consider subscribing to Mordecai Marissa YouTube channel? Thank you.